New set, new look, new network. Catch the Tonya G Show every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tonya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com. Welcome to the Tonya G Show, where we discuss politics, community, business, the future, and so much more. Today, I'm joined by two very special guests, Dr. Cindy Ayers-Elliot, CEO of Footprint Farms, located right here in Jackson, Mississippi, and her son, Lagrand Elliot, Senior VP of Operations. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm excited to be here, and always a pleasure to see you, Tonya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Cindy. So I visited your farm for the first time, didn't even know it existed, Lord. But I visited the farm about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's an impressive farm. Just talk about the farm, you all, and just the specialty crops that you grow and everything that you're doing.
Great. Well, thank you again, and I'm so happy to be here. Well, first of all, yes, we're right here in our city of Jackson, Mississippi, and we're excited about that. Footprint Farms sits on 68 acres right in West Jackson. We're 10 minutes from where you are right now in the studio. We have been there since 1994, and we are a full farm with animals. We are a ranch and a farm. We grow a lot of vegetables, from peas and butter beans to tomatoes and squash and all different types of vegetables, callaloo, sorrel, kale, dinosaur kale. Some of our friends called it a whole nother name, but it's dinosaur kale and callaloo. Dragon kale is coming soon to the farm. We're excited about that. And we have some great people that's a part of Footprint Farms that's there. It's not just me and Lagrand. It is a whole family. We have Danny, Murray, and Wendy Williams. And Wendy Williams. Okay. And we have Mr. Will and Shay. We have Michelet.
We have Neil.
And Neil.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil.
Yeah.
And just so many other great volunteers that come to the farm to be a part of it. But we got a great family. We're excited about it.
Absolutely.
That's
Shout
amazing.
out to Dr. Bill, our horticulturalist, and Dr. Powell, our resident veterinarian on the farm. So thank you so much.
Right. And to all our chefs that's a part of us. We have several chefs that's part of the farm. That we have for dinners and farm-to-table dinners as well as just special events.
That's
We're excited
amazing.
about that.
Absolutely.
And you also offer garden boxes. Talk about that.
Oh, yeah. It's called Farm in a Box. So our Farm in a Box is actually designed for our urban dwellers, for our friends who want to grow but don't want to dig up their backyards or don't know what to do with it or how to make it grow. So these boxes are already pre-planted, and all you got to do is water it once a day, take your scissors and clip it. The more you clip it and ready to eat, the more it will grow for you. So it's an ideal, and we call it Farm in a Box.
Farm in a Box. So it never dies. You just continue on.
Well, you continue for at least 2 or 3 months, and then when the life cycle is over with it, then you just pull it up, take your fork, just a regular fork, stir it, and then plant something else in there.
That's
seeds
amazing.
or plants. And for everyone that gets our Farm in a Box, we say come back to us, and we actually have seedlings all year that fits your time of the year. Right. And you can just go back and plant again. So it depends. Right now we're doing spinach, dragon kale, Swiss chard, lettuce, and a lot of herbs, basil, cilantro, parsley.
Sorrel?
Sorrel. Oh, next time you're at the farm.
That's beautiful.
I got to get that tea.
That's tea. That's it. That's the sorrel.
And a lot of people may know it by the name of hibiscus.
And see, because I didn't know when she was saying, I was like,
yes. Absolutely.
Yes, I didn't know, but
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a hibiscus plant, which is a natural vitamin C. The color is a natural color, and it's great for lowering your blood pressure and cholesterol.
Oh, we have to
it's
get
great
that.
for helping to cleanse your whole system. Right. It's a natural herb.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole Farm in the Box is, we're on an urban mission journey to inspire urban America and urban places who are either zero landlocked, don't have the acreage, but you can grow it in a box, whether it's on a patio or it's in just a simple backyard with not a lot of acreage. So it's not like, well, you got to grow something. You got to have 3-4 acres to grow something. You can grow it in a box.
Well, what about in your windowsill? Not to cut you off.
And that's
Lagrand,
the beauty of it. The urban is basically urban window sealed, if you will.
Okay.
I guess that's a great way to hashtag it. If you want to do that, that's free. But that's the thing. It's letting people get inspired by it in the urban communities. So much we're so plighted on. We love our staples, our turnips, our collards.
Yes.
But we want to turn you on to what is dinosaur kill.
Or dragon
kill, if you will. So we have people who came in the beginning who I just want collars and mustards and
that's me. Yeah. I'm that
but
girl.
Now
I'm a collar.
We have girl. I have my girls and my sisters and they're like, is the dinosaur kill ready yet? So the palettes will change over time. We really want to help to introduce that, just some alternatives that's same in the green family, but we want to really turn it up a notch and expand and let people know and expand their palettes that it doesn't take to be at Whole Foods. Nothing against Whole Foods, but you don't have to do that. There are friends, but I'm just saying it doesn't have to be that to have that same type of presentation, the same type of taste, and we can get right here in the neighborhoods, and that's what we're inspired to do.
Absolutely, and we make sure it's fresh because when we harvest, we're usually harvesting the day before. And the great thing about callaloo, it's a superfood. Mm-hmm. It's high protein, and it's so good for you in your body. Good. It's high nutrients for you, and it's great for our palates. And it only takes 12 to 15 minutes to actually prepare it.
I mean, it's really a creamy, buttery type green. It's not bitter.
Are you a foodie? That's very good. That was very good.
Well, I kind of got that from Miss Cindy when she was explaining it. And so when I was eating it, I was like, it's creamy. And it's not bitter or tart like some collards and turnips.
You don't have to put any sugar in it for it to be good. And the great thing about it is that, the kale and everything that we pretty well grow, you can freeze it. So if you don't eat it all, don't let it spoil. Just take it, chop it up. I always wash everything. Yes. Wash, then chop it up, and then put it in a bag and pull it back out for a soup. Can't wait to try it in a soup. Right. It's great as a bisque. It's also great to be in mixing with other greens. You just put it in there and get another taste right at the end. So 3 or 4 mix. When you put it in with your mustard and turnips, you get another little pop of taste with it.
I'm going to have to try that, Miss Cindy, baby. You're turning me on to some stuff.
I'm already hungry, Yeah.
So we're excited about that. Of course, we do squash. Right now, we're doing winter squash, butternut squash, patty pan, some beautiful coloring, but it's also good for you.
Patty pan?
Patty pans. It's a squash. It is so cute.
Really?
It looks like a little pumpkin.
The little circular. I've had that one time. I fried them before. Okay.
Yes, well, you can fry it. Yeah, fried is good.
Okay.
But it's also great in the oven. Just to put a little olive oil on it and a little seasoning and put it in your oven as well. Yep. In your what's the major fryer right now? The air fryer.
I'm big on my air fryer.
It is great in that as well.
It's beast in the air fryer.
I'll have to try that. This is good.
It's real good. It's real good. And for us to be able to deliver this right in our community, in our state, really fits our mission of what we are and what we want to do. And that is to help fight diabetes and hypertension and to heart disease as well as obesity. To have access, which is our magic word for us, giving access. And that's knowledge. And the more you know, the more you know about your body and what you can do to be healthy and still have a great taste on your palate.
Absolutely.
And that's important. But for us, knowing that our children who now are diabetics or type 2 of diabetes, we can help prevent that and we can help reverse that.
Absolutely.
And it's all about the diet and what you're putting in and where it's coming from.
Right.
Know your farmer.
Right.
Chef Nick Wallace, who's a great friend of ours, will always say, you need to know your doctor. Doctor need to know you. You need to know your chef. The chef needs to know a farmer.
That's right.
Right.
And the farmers need to know the chef. So we want everybody to know who we are and where your food comes from and to see how it's grown. Exactly. And it's grown right here in our city of Jackson.
That's right.
Well, I mean, as I was saying off camera, you have some of the greenest, vegetables that I have seen. I just can't get over it. So I want to talk about the components that go into farming, the soil, the irrigation system that you use, the water, the tunnels. Just kind of talk about how important all of that is.
It's highly important. It's first of all having people that are dedicated to doing what we do. It's not every day. It's not like a Cracker Jack box. You can just pick something out of the box and you have to want to do it and love to do it. And we're inspired by the people who come out and they enjoy doing it every day, and it inspires
Lagrand,
me.
Cindy, you all hold that thought. Tonight's show is brought to you by earthblendcoffee.co, black owned and roasted right here in Jackson, Mississippi. It's just great coffee. The link is in the Facebook description box. Click on the link and support our sponsor, earthblendcoffee.co. Also, we're live on Facebook. Tag, share a friend with a friend, and just support the programming. We'll be right back after the break.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the show. Lagrand, you were saying all the key components that go into farming. Continue.
So like I was saying, it's the first of all, it's the people. You've got to have people that's committed to do what we do. There's nothing glamorous about it. It's a lot of love in it, but there's nothing glamorous about it. There are long days. There's hot days and humidity, our oppressive heat, if you will, in Mississippi, but it's all in love, and it's a process, and we try to use the USDA agriculture practices that bring farming into the 20th century with drip irrigation. When you can drip water to the actual plant instead of just overwatering, it's just so much more condensed down, and you get so much more yield out of your crops. But that's because of scientific definitions and scientific studies and everything that you can do that brings farming to the 20th century. It's not so much that we're praying for rain. We make the rain for ourselves. We just recently built a 600-foot water well aquifer on our farm, which kind of discharges, if you will, from the city water. So if there's any structures or breakdowns, we can still pump from those aquifers, and we can get water to our cattle and water to our fields for our crops. So the infrastructure, I can just say that in real estate, they always talk about location, location, location. In agriculture, it's all about location, location, but it's also about water sourcing, which is key.
And the great thing about this, too, is that we know the drip irrigation that Lagrand talked about is also conservation. We're saving the water. So we're not just wasting water. And a lot of people, especially in farming and in general life, when you're watering your plants, you think you got to water your whole plants, all your leaves. That's the worst thing you can do.
Sure.
You just need to water the soil. For us, just directly to the root. So the practices we use is mulching and drip irrigation. And this is another way that we don't have to use a lot of chemicals, because mulching is like plastic over your rows. So you smother the grass, and only the hole where the plant is planted for it to grow comes up. So all the grass is killed. It's smothered itself. The sun, the good Lord takes care of all that for you. The sun actually keeps it from coming into your plants. But that also saves us money by being able to have the drip irrigation to utilize that. And of course, not using a lot of chemicals. We have an integrated pest management system from Alcorn State University and Mississippi State University. We utilize our resources because we feel very strongly that everything's in place for us to utilize. The universities are ours. It belongs to every Mississippian. We should utilize that knowledge that's there. Alcorn State University is a great partner. We love partnering with Alcorn, with the Ag Division, as well as Mississippi State. But to work with the United States Department of Agriculture and working with NRCS, which is the Natural Resource Conservation Services, is a big part of farming and farm life. And for black farmers, now more than ever, we need to utilize those techniques and that money that's there. And we'll push every day for farmers to come in and to apply for a lot of these programs, which is actually free. A lot of things you get with the fencing and the water, everything is a competitive system, but you don't have to pay that money back. Now, when you look at FSA side of it, which is the Farm Administration for Loans, it is a loan side of it, of USDA, but everything in NRCS you don't have to pay back once you get those practices.
Right.
But it also helps us to save the planet. It saves the earth, from the fencing to make sure that the animals are contained for safety, as well as for the product that you're producing, for the water, again, for conservation. So we look at all of that as a way that we can help keep this planet and our earth ready for our next generations.
Right.
So you're talking about the USDA and getting the resources and the money.
Sure.
I kind of want to talk about black farmers having access to that.
Absolutely.
Is it difficult for black farmers to get access to that, and why?
Go ahead, Mom.
Well, it's difficult, and it has been difficult all our lives from being in farming. Now it's better than it's ever been before. There's still a lot of work that we have to do, but it's there. And changes are happening every day. And we're making sure that those changes happen. We're not just sitting back for someone else to do it. We're an advocate for small farmers, not just in Mississippi, but throughout America
Right.
and the Virgin Islands. We just left about a month ago from the Virgin Islands, working with the farmers there, bringing in different practices and bringing them information, just like we do with our farmers here in the state and anywhere else in the country. We are a big part of the socially disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Center. And that policy center makes a big difference because we go in to help change or correct a lot of the policies that exist right now in USDA.
Can I talk about some of the policies that exist that are adversely affecting black farmers?
Yes.
Sure.
So, of course, we always look at FSA, which is where the suit was actually filed for black farmers against the United States Department of Agriculture. It was from that one division overall. And just for facts, the United States Department of Agriculture is the second largest budget in America's budget.
Wow.
Only second to the Department of Defense.
For all federal spending
So you can
per
see
capita.
where the money
Absolutely.
is
Absolutely.
there. And farmers, especially small farmers, especially crop farmers, we're working harder now, but smarter. But we're also looking at the policies that exist, how we can change some of those policies. We are in front of Congress. We're in front of the Ag Committee.
Yes.
We work closely with all the 1890 colleges and universities in America, and we jointly research to be able to bring the knowledge, not just talking about it, but to show it in facts to our Congress and to our congresspersons who are our allies. Before God rest his soul, Congressman Lewis passed. He was a big advocate for 20 years in working to knock down some of those barriers. Marshall Fudge, who was a congresswoman from Ohio, who's now the secretary for HUD, was a big component of having urban farms. That's one of the reasons we were able to get urban farms in the Farm Bill. We are now named urban farms in the Farm Bill.
And that's a big deal.
It's a major deal, which gives now smaller farmers and small landholders the opportunity now to get the same programs that all these farmers with thousands of acres have had access to for 100 years.
And that's one of the biggest barriers that we're trying to break down. And what we're finding is it's the technical assistance. If you look at it per capita, the average age of the U.S. black farmer is 60 plus years old. So we're looking at a generational gap when it comes to technology. Everybody wants to put everything online. The applications are online. You have to submit this online. You have to upload this. So what we want to bring is the technical support that the programs are out there. And sometimes black farmers have been shunned from that because they have been intimidated by the process. And what we want to do is level the playing field. We're not trying to change it. We're trying to level it. And we're trying to give that technical assistance to those farmers who may not be well-versed in a computer. But we can bring people on and say, hey, let us see what you have. The program is really meant for you. You're spot on with it. Let us help you bring it to the forefront. And a lot of times we're intimidated by that process. And what we're trying to do is break down those barriers to make it as simple and easy. This is the United States of America. We are black folks and we are African Americans, and we have rights to this just like anybody else. So what we're trying to say is this, let's not be intimidated by the process. Our mission is first of all with Footprint Farm, not just to be an agricultural farm. We want to be a training center. We want to be that center of excellence so people can come out and see. We're working with Alcorn State University right now on how to extract hydrogen from the soil.
Carbon.
How does that work?
Yes.
And carbon emissions. So we're not just trying to farm like people think it's just every day. We're into the agriculture drone technology. First, we want to introduce young folks.
Yes.
Young black folks to this, because for so long everybody thinks that when you watch a western or whatever, this is what it is. You ride a mule or whatever, and this is how it works. And it's so much more technologically advanced from that. You know, and people are looking for that. You've got bigger companies are looking for sustainability, and that's what we're looking for: sustainability. How do we compete on a global market? As African Americans in farming, because we're the best of the best.
Absolutely.
We can make nothing out of something.
Yeah, every day.
And we have to do that. And with our
every
ingenuity and what we do, all we need is that boost and that technological support to push us forward. And we've got everything else.
Yeah, the talent and the know-how and the connection with our hands to the soil. But again, as Lagrand said, we want to bring in more young
Miss
people.
Cindy, hold that thought. Tonight's show is brought to you by earthblendcoffee.co, black-owned and roasted right here in Jackson, Mississippi. It's just great coffee. The link is in the Facebook description box. Click on the link and support our sponsor, earthblendcoffee.co. We're on Facebook Live. Tag, share, tell a friend. We'll be right back. COVID's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, SGE COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let SGE COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art bio-risk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. You're tuned in to the Tonya G Show, and we're talking to Miss Cindy, Dr. Cindy Ayers-Elliot, and you were talking about just the different components of trying to make it easier for black farmers to access information. Continue on with
and
that.
again, that's so important to provide the technical assistance, but for the farmers, but also for our future farmers, for our younger people, for organizing our 4-H group to let them know that agriculture is not just putting seeds in the soil. For us, it's about putting seeds in the minds of what it can do and what it can be. United States Department of Agriculture, again, has so many components, but it has opportunities. Right now, there is probably 100,000 positions that's open right now because of so many people that retired out of the system.
Within the USDA,
Within
you're
the
saying?
USDA overall. You need to be looking at USDA.gov for opportunities for positions and not just jobs, but opportunities. Right now, working with our HBCUs throughout the country, we're getting them right now in line to go into some of these positions while they're still seniors. We're taking them through the process to go into the system. But everyone else who want to look at ag, so I major in accounting, guess what? They need that.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm a scientist. Guess what? They need that. I'm an attorney. Guess what? They need that.
That's right.
So every component that you can major in is under USDA. So it's in your field, but it's also opportunities to actually grow where you are, to go into different areas. Inspection, you inspect everything. You know, from the meat that you eat is inspected. From the soil that we use is inspected. From everything that we take as our everyday life, for the water quality, for the air quality, everything you can think of, from the clothes that you wear. Everything goes through that inspection process because it is done by farmers.
That's right.
The raw products goes from raw products to finished products to the consumer. So it's not just food. It's the wood. It's the loggers.
Yeah, and it's
That's
all
a big
of
part
it.
of
It's e-commerce.
Yes.
We partner with great nonprofits like Heifer International, Heifer USA, which they have right now a swine program, which is basically we're trying to encourage farmers here in Mississippi that we can help them with providing swine Obviously, just like beef and pork, if you will, pork is on the major markets. Beef is high, pork is high, but we're leveling that playing field by bringing in partners like Heifer USA, who can provide everything from setting it up correctly, and we're talking about organically fed raised pork, not just you're slopping the hogs, if you will, but a real technique that people like Heifer USA is introducing to get farmers here in Mississippi.
And black farmers throughout the Black Belt.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're looking at
black farmers involved to not only give them that, but actually create an e-commerce market. So it's almost like your stuff is already sold.
It's pre-sold.
All you have to do is raise it. So we're trying to bring those type of programs in and introduce people like Heifer USA and International to our black, specifically our black farmers, to say, hey, not only can we say we can get you the farrows and the hog and help you raise them, give you the right non-GMO feeds so we can be organically correct in selling this pork, but also the market for it.
It's there.
Usually the problem is we are good at raising it and all of that. Now what? We don't have the market.
To sell it.
So when we have partners like Heifer, these are people that are helping us give us a global market so we can really scale up businesses in small black farms to really make them really profitable,
larger black farms.
Well, that's actually one of my questions. How do you, as a farmer, get your produce in the supermarket? How do you do that?
Well, and see, and that's a great question. First of all, getting into supermarkets is hard as heck.
Is it really?
You know, you got to have at least $20 million bonding capacity, and I'm sure our sponsor can appreciate that for bonding. But it's doable because we can get those. We have those in for farmers. And now a lot of the supermarkets, because of people are asking, what do you have local? Which is forcing them now to go local and to work with more small farmers and work with food hubs to actually have a mass. So for us, last week we did over 1,000 15-pound food boxes to our community.
That's amazing.
That's a lot of food that's going out.
That
you do 15 times 1,000. You can see how much that volume is. We can't grow it all. So we have partners and sister farms that we actually pull in from that we buy at great prices because we want to also create more Mecca opportunities for if you grow it, we're going to buy it, you're selling it. That means you're going to hire more people. You're going to have more money for your household. You're going to be able to have more in your bank account. And this is what we want. We want to be able to help grow everyone together.
That's
truly to raise the tide. We can do that. We talked about Heifer International.
Sure.
Kellogg's Foundation.
Yes.
It's another that we are working with, and we're bringing in great minds to do that and programs that we can help set up. We're a big part of one of our largest pharmaceutical companies in the world is Novo Nordisk.
Novo Nordisk is the largest producer of insulin in the world. And we've been working with them for the last 2-3 years on a pilot program. Think of us as pharmacists, not pharmacists with a P, but pharmacists with an F. And what they want to do is look at better outcomes. Any physician in the world wants a better outcome. And it's not always with a pill. It's going to start with better eating habits, a little bit at a time. So we're working from a traditional farming standpoint, but we're also looking at it from a holistic standpoint going into the future and partnering with people. Is like, if we can stop making so many, diabetic drugs, and we can cut down on it.
And let's talk about the food and the health benefits.
Let's talk about the food and the health benefits. So you start looking at us as actual pharmacists with an F. We're partnering with great people here in the city of Jackson. Jackson High and Comprehensive. We look right across the street. We're looking at, some partners with UNC where we're doing what they call CSA, which is Community Service Agriculture.
So it is really important to partner with other farming cooperatives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We believe in partnerships to actually create more. Our partnerships with our community is important, but also with other companies and businesses. And we should be promoting each other.
Absolutely.
The more we do together, the stronger we are. And that's enough room out here for everyone, believe me.
Absolutely.
So our mission is to, how can we help? What can we do? We help to create 4-H groups. We work closely with Jackson Public Schools.
Explain to me, Miss Cindy, what is a 4-H group and what does it do? And I do want to get your thoughts on agriculture being in schools and how do you push those programs being in the schools?
Well, and it's in schools. Right now in Jackson Public Schools, we have ag academies.
I did not know that.
Ag academies. We have several of our schools that actually, in Wingfield, which is our pilot school, is actually one of those. And shout out to Wingfield and to Coach Jeff Gibson, who's now over the agriculture program for Jackson Public Schools.
Are they
we're
farming?
actually teaching. They are farming. They have over 240 acres. In fact, some of the photos you see with my youth, those are actually Wingfield students.
That's right. That's right.
And now with Coach Gibson, who's no longer the football coach, who is over the ag programs, I think they got 240 acres now that this public school has, that actually takes students out to teach them how to not to farm, but also the whole agricultural added value. Taking the sugar cane and making syrup.
Yes.
How about that? Amazing, right? Taking the tomatoes and making tomato soup.
That's right.
Taking the cabbage and using your grandmother's recipe for making chow chow.
Right.
Have some of that.
Right.
So all these things are possible to go to value added and to look at it, again, holistically. Let's not just take it and say, I'm going to grow tomatoes.
That's right.
No, we're going to do tomatoes. We're going to have a whole tomato line.
Right.
That you can hopefully sell, not just at farmers markets, but get those commercial kitchens, Mr. Garrett, ready. So we can actually go on and put some of this into our local stores so that people can have access. You know, one of the things about having access to healthy foods, you'll eat healthier if you could get it. If you're in a food desert or can't get to a grocery store and you're hungry, you're going to eat at that convenience store.
Right.
When you look at the statistical data, how many EBT dollars are spent at corner stores, you would not believe the numbers. It's overwhelming. But think about what they're buying, what they're eating.
Right.
The potato chips, the candy, the junk that causes diabetes and hypertension and heart disease.
And we also want to look at this historically.
Yes.
I would be remiss to be on your program and not say that, you know, one of the matriarchs of the CSA, which is the Community Service Agriculture, is none other than the illustrious Miss Fannie Lou Hamer. Miss Hamer was probably the matriarch of what we consider community service agriculture, where during that time, you know, she was, you know, I wanted you to be clothed, I want you to be fed, but let's feed ourselves.
Yes.
And she was a matriarch at making sure that happened. So when you talk about the 7-pound box or the 15-box CSA, this is just a heritage where we're trying to carry on the legacy of someone that I have so much respect for in the history books is Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, which I consider one of the founders of the CSA box.
Absolutely.
And we want to continue that. We want to have the Dr. Ayers who's going to continue that legacy. And I came from corporate America just like she did. Sure.
We'll be right back after the break.
Yeah.
Sure.
Great.
Welcome back to the show. Continue on with your point, Lagrand.
No, I just want to say that with that, we just want to continue that legacy of for us, by us, for us.
Right.
And from an agriculture standpoint, and you have people like my mom, just so happened to be Dr. Ayers, that's continuing that. I came from corporate America just like she did, and I saw the bigger picture, if you will, and I'm so 10 toes down with it because somebody has to continue that, not only for us, but the legacy for our family.
Right.
We want to leave that legacy. And we're second generations of the legacy, and we want to be able to leave something, and it just so happens to be agriculture, and that's okay.
That is okay.
And we're talking about legacy and building wealth. One of the things for Black people in America, we didn't have the opportunity to truly build wealth.
Right.
We're still losing our land. We need to look at our land right now, pay those taxes. If not, come and see some of us that can help you pay those taxes.
That's right.
You know, air property is a big thing right now.
Yes.
You had talked to a cousin that's 3 times removed, and you guys got 100 acres of land just sitting there with grass on it, and nobody's making anything on it. Yeah. Let's come together to the table. There are organizations now with the Federation of Farmers, Mississippi Association of Cooperatives, the Policy Center, to help work with you to help clear those deeds, to get those titles correctly so you can use these programs.
Absolutely.
In order to utilize USDA programs, you got to have possession or control of the land. So if you got air property that's there, no one can do anything because they won't talk to each other or they don't know who they are.
Absolutely.
And somebody's paying taxes, but now whoever that is can't do anything with it. So we need to stop continuing to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Exactly.
Let's come together and come stronger by utilizing what we have. And right now, programs are in place, again, to help clear those titles. And I mean clear those titles under USDA right now.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we're talking about that because, I have this in my questioning you also.
Great.
I read an
Great segue.
I read an article on Equal Justice Initiative, and I'm just going to read this. It says, Black landowners in the South have lost 12 million acres of farmland over the past century, mostly from the 1950s onward. The Atlantic reports that 1 million Black families have been ripped from their farms in a war waged by deed of title, which you talked about, and propelled by white racism and local white power. Black farmers are shut out of, we're going to get into the $10 billion legal marijuana
We'll talk about that soon.
But that's the thing, and that's what we know about historically.
That's what we know about,
right? So, but that's a great number to start with as a beta test for where we are as a baseline. But just like the great Oprah Winfrey says, nobody's making more land anymore. So it's so important for, yes, is it tedious? Is it a pain in the you-know-what when you've got umpteen cousins? But it has to be done. Otherwise, guess who gets that? Guess who gets that?
Non-Black people.
No
Guess
Black
who gets that? So our point of it is there are so many resources, and that's why I go back to the technical support that people want to do that. We've got land, or it was passed down, and now I'm not that old. But I will say that it's my generation that they're trying to uncover those things to bring that wealth back to the family to leave that legacy. But the point of it is, where do you start? But the great thing that's happening right now, there are a lot of nonprofits, for-profits, USDA, all these people are really on board to really help people rekindle and reconnect with that land before it goes to somebody who does not deserve it.
Right. Of course, right now with the proclamation that President Biden did as soon as he got into office, 1006, which actually was going to do the forgiving of debt of Black farmers from USDA.
Where
right
is
now
he's
fine. It's the courts right now because white farmers have filed a discrimination suit.
And Tonya, let's just go to a granular level. What's happening is United States Congress passed this to say that we were wrong. We need to have the retribution, and I know that's a bad word, but I'm going to use it because that's what it is.
What it is. Right.
And you have farmers who have gotten everything that they've ever wanted. They've paid pennies on the dollar for millions of dollars for agriculture equipment, land, seed, feed, you name it. And now all of a sudden, they are the ones that are. You see where I'm going with this?
I see it.
And I just want people to really know that how serious this really is.
Absolutely,
so you're telling me
Lagrand.
People who have not had anything ever, and they've had to make nothing out of something, and here they are finally, as the Jeffersons say, getting our big lead at bat, if you will. And now you're saying, you can't do that. We're going to tie this up in federal court, and maybe your grandkids still might be fighting this litigation. And this has to stop.
Well, and that goes back to where racism is alive and well. But not only are there the white farmers, the banks are saying we don't want them to pay off the debt. No, they don't want the debt paid off. You know why?
Right.
It's because the banks that are holding the notes are probably only charging 25 or 30% or less. So they're making money over money by the Black farmers still being in debt to them.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
From the interest side.
And they have access to snatch that away from them
Absolutely,
as well.
and that's an intimidation of control as well. But they also get to watch it. They're going to call John. He's about to lose that.
In
can't
real
pay
time.
taxes and now.
In real time.
We're really not going to give him this loan right now because he needed it for his crops. Which is why the lawsuit was filed against FSA. But right now there are a lot of people that are out there working to help to not only bring this into a resolution, but there's another bill that's out there as well. Actually not a bill. A bill is out there too, but this executive order that has been signed also opens up opportunity for more black farmers or people of color to get into the system. See, not only can the debt will be paid off, but you can go right back into that. Right now, do you know that interest rate maybe 2%? How about a 40-year loan for about $1.5 million?
For about $1.5 million,
2%.
40-year loan at maybe 2%.
Maybe 2%, depending. Right now, 2% at a max.
Yeah.
And you can actually pay back in 40 years. You interested in that?
Oh.
Well, guess what? New and beginning ranchers and farmers,
Yes.
and I'm saying new and beginning. So this is out there for farmers or people who want to get into the business
Yes.
to get
Really?
into it. Of course, you got to do your homework.
Right.
You can't just come say, I'm going to be a farmer.
Exactly.
I want this land. Not only you have to have a business plan.
Yeah.
Farming is a business. For us, this is our business.
This is our business.
Right.
We're utilizing where we are, but it is our business. We have to have a business plan. We have to have checks and balances. We have to have an accounting system. We have to have CPAs.
Right.
It is a business.
It's a
And we have to
business.
look at how we market, where we go, how much we have to sell. We don't kill it, we don't eat.
Right.
So you have to look at doing it as a business. It's not a hobby. If it's a hobby, you want to guard.
Yeah.
And we want to
Yeah.
encourage that too. Any way you can help feed yourself better, do that.
Right.
That's
But
right.
this is our business. This is how we pay our bills and our mortgage, and hopefully have some left to build legacies for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
That's right.
So I do want to talk about black farmers being shut out of the $10 billion legal marijuana business. Let's
definitely
talk
wanna
about
talk
that.
about
Another great segue.
Yes.
And I would just start with this. And I love everybody. But, we'll get calls like every day. Hey, I've got 5 acres. Hey, come plant me, help me get into this hemp game, right? And I'm like, so would you. But we've got some due diligence to do. One of the biggest things of it is, number one, what kind of soil quality do we have? Just because your family left you something, which is great, that doesn't necessarily mean we can yield crops. But even when we yield crops, who's going to soil sample it? Who's going to till it? Who's going to fertilize the land? Who's going to harvest it? Where's the market? So, but we want to get into those things and find our sweet spots. The sweet spot might not be growing. The sweet spot might be the added value. It might be the gummy. It might be the packaging. It might be the transportation. It may be the logistics of it. Because at some point, you've got to interact. At some point, maybe in the next 3-5 years, you've got to interact with the UPS and the FedEx. How does that work?
Right.
Where do we find our sweet spot? It's not always about let's plant it. Let's look at the other things that we can do with this. And that's what we always preach. It's not always planting it, growing it. We're looking at what happens after that, the processes that happen, and we don't really get in on that. We get in on the harvesting part and the growing part, but that's the real back-breaking part of it. And if you don't have a system set up, maybe not the best way to go.
And right now with medical marijuana in Mississippi, and let's just talk home. One of my biggest peeves is that 74% of the people in Mississippi that voted, which was the highest number ever voted in Mississippi, said they want this to happen.
Ooh, yes.
And then you turn around
and you overturn what the people
our Supreme Court, who I feel
Only
was
in
still
Mississippi.
wrong,
Really?
who are appointed by this governor, appointed by governors to overrule the people on a technicality. My whole thing is, they're Mississippians regardless of what congressional district they live in. The legislators have been doing this for years. There's
that's
several.
all, Miss Cindy.
Yeah,
We'll be
don't
right
start
back
me on that
after
one.
the break. You start.
Hi, I'm Q Talicia Garrett. I am here to introduce our New South Development and Training Outreach Hour every Tuesday at 2 p.m., giving you information on how to become a part of the programs through USDA and Farm Service Agency. We can be reached at 678-779-9468. We can also be found online at newsouthoutreach.com.
Okay.
Welcome back to the show. Continue on with that point, Miss Cindy.
Well, my point is, it goes back to, again, our legislators allowing this to happen. First of all, they knew this flaw was in the Constitution all the time.
Of course.
After redistricting happened over 10 years ago, they knew this.
Exactly.
But yet still, they have not let them stop from passing other things that still was in the same congressional district that they brought up, that they actually got passed.
That's right.
One of those bigger ones was actually taking of land
That's right.
for public use. That had to go in. They got that out. Nothing was brought up about that side of it. But for them to have the audacity, and we should look at that because a lot of those should not be re-elected to represent because they're not representing us. They got interest, maybe 4 or 5, but it's not us. We really need to look at that.
Absolutely.
But we have to still stand firm. When you look at, and right now this bill that's out there, if you've seen the draft of this, it talks about what it can do in the licenses and how much money it's going to cost to get a license, not just to grow it. You got to have a license in every area. Gets back to what's your sweet spot. What do you want to look at to do?
It's a sweet spot, but the way that they're producing this right now is almost like a poll tax, if you will. If you can't pay to play in this game, as much as you want to be in it,
you won't be in it.
You won't be in it.
And our elected officials, our black elected officials that are there, our Congress and senators who's trying to get something in. I know we were part of a study that was done, and we actually presented it to our Black Caucus to let them see what's happening in other states and how it's working. But one of the biggest things that's there is that farmers are having to grow it, or producers, they're not even farmers, growing it inside. So a lot of black farmers, a nursery inside a greenhouse.
Yeah, they're warehouses.
It's a warehouse. It's not even a nursery.
Now. It's all about the correct lighting. And humidity and temperature.
It's temperature control.
That you can basically, i.e., our kind of vacant Jackson industrial area, if you're listening, Mr. Mayor, that those are opportunities where, if we get this, these are where growers are looking to house.
They have no choice.
And they have no choice because the way that the legislation is cut
right now,
and we're not getting any help from our beloved.
Speak for yourself. Beloved.
I won't go there, but I'm just simply saying that some of us are making it difficult for us to do that.
Right, because right now the bill is saying you have to grow inside. So there's only 3 ways you can grow inside. It's aeroponics, hydroponics, or aquaponics.
That's right.
And aqua is fish. I don't think they're going to be doing that.
Right.
But looking at growing anything, medical marijuana, whatever it's going to be.
Or just the hemp itself.
Even hemp. Well, hemp right now is outdoors because hemp is being grown outdoors. In a lot of other states, a lot of marijuana is still being grown outside in high tunnels or outside in the fields. But right now in this bill that we have looking at that, of course, your governor's not going to call a special session. It's January now, so it will be on our agenda.
On the regular
and we
session.
should not let it sit still behind that. We need to make sure that it gets done, but we need to have parts in that. We should have some guarantees that people of color will have an opportunity to get in on the ground floor. They should be able to earmark so many licenses for black people, not just farmers, because farmers are not going to be the one that's going to be doing the value added or the packaging and everything else. They can do it,
right?
But businesses, truly individual businesses, will be doing this. It's just taking on a new business role. Packaging. We went to Denver a couple of months ago to see that operation of how they package. What it has to be in order to meet the regulations, even for medical marijuana.
And the chemistry of it. It has to be, there's a chemistry. You just can't grow it and just say, my packaging. It has to be tested. There has to be baselines of potencies.
The different strands and everything else to go with
that. So there's a lot of technical parts of it that we have to be equipped. If we're going to get into it, we have to be equipped with those tools. Those tools are out there. We just have to be equipped with them.
And the jobs it will create.
Yeah.
And the money it will make.
Right. Exactly. Now, when you say we should get involved, how can the constituents, the citizens, get behind, changing?
They need to make some phone calls. They need to talk to their legislators. They need to know what bill is out there. And our legislators need to make sure that we get something in the bill. Right now, if we don't be a part of while the bill is being written, who do you think is at the table?
Right.
Who do you think was at the table when this bill was drafted?
Exactly.
Right.
And then, yet for our caucus and our black elected officials, they have enough strength, though, to hold something out, to not let some things pass when they vote together in blocks, to stop something from getting out of committee. That's part of the power that the caucus has, and they exercise it. But they also got to be knowledgeable of what the product is. They're fighting right now. Well, it can't be grown outside. Well, okay, how about you say to them, okay, How about we're going to set aside 20% of every licenses in every capacity for these black farmers, or these black people in general, to do this. Something for the black farmers, because it's going to cost money. To get into any business, but especially into this business.
Yes.
We just shouldn't just jump out there. We need to make sure that we're planning, that we've got professionals in line. We're looking at other states and other farmers that are doing this. It's a major black group in Oklahoma.
The technical and the legal representation that it's going to take to make that happen.
That's amazing. Sure. I have one more component of issues that black farmers face.
Only one?
There's several.
There's not enough segments tonight for this. Absolutely. Absolutely. We get to come back again.
So currently there are 6 black farmers from the Mississippi Delta, Indianola, that are suing Pitts Farms Partnership for racial discrimination. The lawsuit claims that Pitts Farm began recruiting white farmers from South Africa in 2014 and paying blacks $7.25 an hour and whites $2 to $4 more. So not only is the land being stolen and taken away by these, we can't grow legal marijuana, but we also are outsourcing the jobs to non-black people. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And are you familiar with the lawsuit?
I'm familiar with that lawsuit and other lawsuits that are similar. But see, this is one thing you got to look at. Of course, they first said it's the Hispanics and it's the Mexican, it's the illegals that's in. A big part of that.
That was that crusade.
And they're doing a lot of the work that a lot of people won't do. A lot of black people won't do, but it's not.
But you hear illegally.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
illegally too, illegally and legal. But the point still is this: is that the farmer that's bringing these people in know they're breaking the law, but yet still they have access to everything. They still able to utilize our tax dollars with a lot of money that they borrow from FSA. That's our tax money. That's us.
Right.
So you ask, what can we do? What we can do right here, what we can control right now, people in Mississippi, to call your elected official, not just the black ones, but the white ones, to say, you're representing us in this district and we want this to happen. You got to say something. When somebody put out a call and says, we need to burn these phones up, we need to send these emails, they actually listen to that. They actually read that. But we just can't
really
they really do. They really can see the. I mean, if you say
it's real. Pressure does bust a pipe. Pressure still busts a pipe. I don't care where it is. It still busts a pipe.
If you're not going to say this is wrong,
well, if you won't say anything,
then what they going to say?
Nothing will be done. So you definitely have to voice.
So we have to voice, and we also got to stop voting for some of these people that's out there because they knew John and Charlie and
we got to stop
Ann.
voting for personalities and for real change.
Well, I would say too, when we're voting, sometimes there aren't candidates that's running against anybody too. You know what I mean? So there's not quality candidates to vote for.
And that's the other part. It's hard to be for candidates to get out there when they know they're going to be slandered and their names and their families going to be called everything from a child of God. But you got to get ready for that. That's part of it. But we as a people, I said we get to the promised land. We as the people need to come together. And some of these differences that we have that happened 20 years ago when you didn't speak to me or you stepped on my toe in church.
Won't we hold on to pride and that ego?
But someone else will be putting their foot on your neck and you still saying yes, sir.
Will you hit?
But Tonya, I just want to go back and I want to say a shout out to my Hispanic brother and sister who the pandemic has showed us at a point where we were in a food crisis as the largest, most wealthiest, powerful nation on the planet. I wanted my Hispanic brother and sister, and whether they were illegal across the Rio Grande or not, that was still producing food to get it to families and get it on the truck to get it to us.
Right.
So before I just discount about it's illegal or not illegal, I just want to say that there are a lot of hardworking Hispanic Americans that are here that I want to give a shout out to because it pulled an ugly scab off of America for a lot of reasons. We can get into the whole, Black Lives Matter. We can get all that, but we want this segment. But I just want to say that it pulled off a scar from a food security standpoint. We've got more bombs, more weapons than you can ever produce ever on a planet. But yet and still, when it came to something as simplistic as food, we were no bullets, no Scud missiles, no...
Could be eaten.
And, we've got our Hispanic brother and sister that was out there in California pulling avocados or pulling whatever it was to get food back to the East Coast and back to the breadbasket of America, we have to salute and tip our hats to that. How they got here, it's not my concern. We'll let the legal system fix that. But until that happens, we want to acknowledge that and acknowledge that heritage and acknowledge that thirst for the American dream, just like we want.
And workers in general, when you look at how America, this world is moving, it's on the backs of a lot of people that don't make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we look at our truck drivers, you're looking at our harvesters, the farmers that's there. Everybody has to continue to do what we do in order to bring food in. When the trucks can run to get from California to Mississippi or to New York, in Mississippi, the black farmers came up with, okay, we're growing more food now than ever before. And they opened up to the communities. That was, you can have money, but you went to the Kroger's grocery store and there was no food on the shelf. What you going to do with it?
That's right.
You know, it was the small farmers of America that actually turned around and kept producing food for their communities.
They kept it moving until the cavalry came, but it was small farmers, black, white, small, whatever, that kept America going during our most inopportune time in American history.
That's right. Local is so important. Just like politics is so important, it's local.
Yes.
And we're looking at the national level, yes, but local is where all our policies or a big part of our problems occur. It's local politics. It's state politics.
All politics
it's
are
city
local.
politics. And we have to look at what we have to do to make sure that, especially small farmers, and I am an advocate. I don't bite my tongue about that, to know, because I know what it takes to run a farm. I know what it takes to produce and to have food ready for people to eat and the safety of it. So I know the importance, and we have to start doing more locally. We have to open up more. Our churches that are out there with all this land they're sitting on,
Absolutely.
is just sitting there, should look at what else we can do in our community to open this up to produce
That's
food.
a great point.
And not just community gardens. I'm talking about areas where the parishioners or the community can actually make money, but growing it is not enough. We need to now have value added.
Right.
We need to now have commercial kitchens. So we're not just growing the cucumbers and tomatoes.
Yeah.
We're making pickles and we're making tomato sauce.
And we're making salads.
And we're making salads.
Yes.
And it's being able to go on the shelf, because see, shelf life is important.
Yes.
Right now, I can give you the best beautiful greens.
And I can attest
And
to
the
it.
squash.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
But in 3 or 4 days, if I hadn't sold what I've harvested, what's going to happen
It's
to
gonna
it?
get old.
I don't want it to compost it.
Right.
You know, I want to take it and cut it and dice it and be able
While
to put
it's
it in
fresh,
jars and
right.
to do a
Absolutely.
quick freeze so that you can still have local fresh versus it coming from somewhere else. So we need value added. We also need these commercial commercial kitchens, small and different communities. So
New
not
set,
only
new look, new network. Catch the Tonya G Show every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tonya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com.